Greetings, everyone. This is Jeff Schechter, aka Shecky, with the High Return Real Estate Show. And today we have got the most unbelievable episode. I am so excited because we have a very, very special and unique guest. Happens to be someone who is a blood relative to my business partner and friend, Mr. Jack Gibson. So first, let me welcome you, Jack, to the show.
I'm excited to be here, Shecky, of course.
Yeah, the very special guest sitting right next to you is actually your 9-year-old son, Mr. John Gibson. How you doing, John?
Great.
Yeah, are you happy to be here?
Yeah, I'm excited.
All right, well, we are super, super excited to have you. So stay tuned and we'll be right with you with the meat of our show. Welcome to the High Return Real Estate Show, the podcast for heavy hitters. 2 men, 1 mission. It's time to build your empire. All right, we are back with Mr. Jack Gibson and his son, John Gibson. But Jack, I just want to set this up. The name of this show is How to Instill the Entrepreneurial Spirit in Your Kids. And, you know, I'm kind of curious more about your upbringing, Jack. Like, were you raised with entrepreneurial spirit? Like, were you taught to go out and get a good education so you get a good job? How were you raised?
Well, it's a great question. My parents were both employees for, my mom was a school teacher for 40 some years, and my father worked in law enforcement and insurance, specifically arson investigating. So they were great employees and very dedicated employees. They certainly taught me a lot of entrepreneurial principles, which were, hard work and working with teams. My mom had a lot of farm sayings growing up. She grew up on a farm, so she taught me, instilled in me, the entrepreneurial farm spirit, so to speak. So I did get a lot of it from my parents. And then my uncle, he was a very wealthy businessman. He ran 3 different businesses, and I was around him all the time. He was like a second father to me. So there was a lot of entrepreneurial, kind of spirit that he just rubbed off on me from him, and he taught me a lot as well.
Yeah, so it's great that you were able to kind of learn some of that stuff by osmosis. But, since then and as an adult, I know you pretty well, and you've become quite the entrepreneur, and you certainly have inspired a lot of other people to lead an entrepreneurial life. What is it that you do? Like, how is it that you're able to sort of parlay that into that much greater level of entrepreneurial spirit that you have now? Like, how did you develop it? How do you continue to develop it?
It's funny, Shecky. I think, growing up, I always wanted to excel with anything that I did. I've always had this fear of being average. And so I just wanted to, and always have wanted to be the best that I possibly can be. And I'm extremely competitive. I mean, definitely to a fault. I probably could use some counseling or have counseling on that, area. So just the competitive spirit. I mean, I'm very, independent, driven. I can discipline myself to set my own schedule. Just was a natural, for me, it was just a natural, fit to start my own businesses. I started in my first business when I was 19, and I was introduced and fortunate to be introduced to the concept of personal development at that young age, which, of course, as we know, is so important. It just the development of your mindset and the development of really focusing on becoming better tomorrow than you are today. So I got that at a young age, and I grabbed onto that concept and really studied human potential. And so as an entrepreneur, it really gives us unlimited capabilities to really become all that we really want to become. When you're in a job, typically you're stifled. You can't always, you can only go so high. And if you have your own business, I mean, you can, through, creative, strategic planning, hard work, I mean, there is no limitations. The only limitations are, what you put on it and what you put on yourself. So I think that's where it started pretty young for me, Shecky.
Well, but just to play devil's advocate for a minute, given that, your parents both had, let's just say, secure jobs, and they obviously were a great example to you from a standpoint of work ethic and things like that. Why is it such a big deal to you to instill the entrepreneurial spirit in your children? I guess, what I'm asking is, what's wrong with teaching the next generation to go out and get a good education and secure a good job?
I was at a Tony Robbins seminar, and this is a great question about the future of our economy. I was at a business mastery seminar, and they showed a video of it's a bricklayer, but it was not a human bricklayer. It was a machine that could lay bricks in 4 hours. It could build what it would take 2 human beings 4 days to do the same thing.
Yeah, and probably do it with more accuracy too.
Exactly. So, well, of course, debatable, right? But nonetheless, that kind of, that's going to be very, very typical moving forward in our economy. In other words, meaning the job that you have today, you could definitely be displaced in 2 years, 5 years, probably very likelihood within a decade, and with absolute certainty within 20 years. So, and there are jobs actually that, of course, that are immune from, being displaced. I mean, there's always going to be certain sectors that you can never put a robot or technology in that place.
Yeah.
But for the most part, most sectors, just the pace of change and technology is accelerating at such a high level that if you have a job, you don't have any sort of stability. I mean, chances are, you're going to be displaced so fast. So by being an entrepreneur and being in control of your own destiny, being able to adapt quicker to what happens in the economy through being an entrepreneur, you're going to be in the driver's seat. And I just think it's more critical than ever that we teach our children how to be independent thinkers, how to be self-reliant, and also, how to be adaptable to the winds of change, because the winds are going to always change, right? But it's the set of your sail that really matters. So I'm just want to teach John and my other son Tyler, I want to teach them, how to set their sails properly, because the winds are going to be pretty crazy how they're going to blow over the next couple decades.
Yeah, I like the way you phrase that. I also think that given the pace of acceleration of technology, the winds are blowing faster.
Yes.
And, they're definitely growing up in a generation that is just far more accelerated in that regard than the way that we grew up. And
Sure.
The other thing that I think is really crucial, that I just want to put an asterisk on what you said, is I think the best entrepreneurs are ones that are taught and learn how to be problem solvers on a bigger scale.
Yes.
And, when it's sort of that next layer to what you had mentioned about critical thinking. So that said, I want to bring on, what's that?
I was just going to say, the bigger the problem, the bigger the paycheck, and that's, if you don't like problems, then you should not be an entrepreneur, because that's all you do as an entrepreneur is solve problems on a daily basis. And then, you're on a bigger scale, you're solving, bigger human dilemmas. And really, ultimately, I don't feel, Shecky, that by turning over the power over to our government or anybody else, that our future of our country is ever really going to get better. Anytime that you look if you really look at who's going to solve the problems over the next 20, 30, 50 years, it's going to be entrepreneurs. And so I want my sons to be out in the forefront of that, leading that charge of truly going to the causal and not trying to address the symptoms.
Yeah, well said, man. I love the way you said that. And that said, I want to introduce a pretty amazing young man who is a future problem solver and future entrepreneur. And I want to just bring on Mr. John Gibson. How you doing, John?
Great.
We are so happy to have you here. How old are you?
9.
And what grade are you in school?
4th grade.
And what's your best subject?
I like reading the most.
Wow, that's excellent. Okay. So,
yeah, he's a great reader. Readers are leaders.
Readers are leaders, for sure.
Yeah.
So you get to watch your dad a lot. I mean, I know he's got an office in the house. Like, could you give us a description of what you think your dad does for a living?
Well, I know he invests in real estate.
Okay. And what else?
He works at Nutritional and helps people with their nutrition.
That's great. Okay. So do you think, like, you've been around your dad obviously a lot, and do you think that you're better off as a kid who's 9 in 2nd grade, just an average kid? Do you think you're better off having a dad who owns his own businesses? Or do you think you'd be better off if you had a dad who just had a regular job?
Well, I think I like my dad because he owns businesses, and you make more money that way.
Well, okay, that's true. So obviously you reap the benefits of him making more money because you have a better lifestyle, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean to you? What, more Nerf guns?
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't you shoot Shecky like right in the face with the Nerf gun when he was here?
Yeah.
Was that awesome?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But we were on teams most of the time.
Oh, that was me. I probably got him in the face.
Oh.
Sorry, Shecky, my bad.
Okay. I still have welts, but that's
yeah.
all right.
Yes, you do.
Sorry. So, so John, I'm just kind of curious, given that you're around your dad a lot, obviously, because he has an office in your house, you're actually sitting there right now. What have you learned just observing, watching your dad operate his businesses? I mean, you obviously, you said something about money, but, have you learned anything else about, the ways to make money?
Not really.
That's a tough question.
Have you learned anything at all about watching him, about maybe how he deals with other people and maybe how to relate to other people? Have you learned anything in that regard?
Yeah, we've played many games like Monopoly Junior, Cashflow, and Cashflow Junior.
Ah, okay. So I'm guessing those are some of your activities that you're doing as a family that are really helping you to understand the game, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah,
tell me a little.
Sorry to interject, Shecky.
Yeah.
I feel really, really strongly that, not only kids, but adults learn the most when they play a game. So, and as Robert Kiyosaki says this in his book, I know he's obviously promoting his game through his book, Cashflow, the board game. But I do agree. And it's because the way you show up at the game is typically the way you show up in life as well. And it's interesting to see, and I've played games where I've watched, like, what's their pattern when they play this game? How are they really, are they competitive? Do they just really not care? Are they focused? Are they into it? I just watch, and you see the patterns that they have in the game reflects, real life decision-making. So we're really work hard on, having fun. You want it to be a fun experience for the kids, as far as the learning and the process. So the games make it fun for us, and it causes us to, be able to spend quality time together. And, at the same time, I'm teaching him lessons through playing that could last, a lifetime. That board game Cashflow, I mean, it's so good at teaching, these, not only kids, but adults, of how the game of money really works, and investing and starting businesses and all of that. So we do that quite a bit. It's, obviously the last 3 months we haven't really done it because it's summer here, so we're outside every night. But
Well, wait, I got a question, John. When you guys play that game, who usually wins?
It depends who has more money.
Okay. Well, that's usually true. But I mean, are you any good at that game?
Yes.
yeah, you beat me several times, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't take it easy on him. I'm not letting him win. Tyler, his younger brother, I have to let win at sometimes, because otherwise he'll flip out. He'll throw a fit, right? They're wired differently. But yeah, John does real well. It's fun to watch him play. He makes good decisions.
So, John, would you say that one's probably your favorite game of all of them?
I like Monopoly more.
Yeah, I think he tends to go towards Monopoly. He loves interrupting me.
Okay. Well, so you're learning a lot from your dad. You're learning a lot from these games. Are you learning anything? Are they teaching you anything at school about running your own business?
No.
No. Well, you sound very definite when you say that. Okay, maybe I'm just kind of pushing the envelope a little bit here, but don't you think, learning stuff like math and things are going to help you with future business?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay. Well, so at least we got that out of you. So
we got a kind of, yeah. Right.
We got a kind of,
well,
right.
I think, school system is not, we can't rely on the school system to by any extent to teach our kids entrepreneurship. I mean, these are all employees that have designed all the curriculums, that are teaching all the curriculums. There's no entrepreneurial influence there. And, certainly there's great things about, the school system, and there's certainly things that are not so great. So as parents, we want to make sure that we fill in the gaps, and that we are really making sure that he has a full education. And most kids graduate high school and don't know a thing about how money actually really works. And it's the one thing that dominates the rest of their life. Yet there's never so much as a course throughout the entire, curriculum that teaches them anything about it. So, that's where I have to come in and know and understand that's a real gap that needs to be, filled. And so that, to me, is one of the primary things that I try to educate John on, and that we work on his mindset about how money works, so that it doesn't own him for the rest of his life, and that he knows how to make great decisions with it.
Yeah, that's fantastic, because, when you look at it, and we look at the educational system, it could easily be said that there aren't really any adults, even as they move into middle age and old age, that really ever get or understand this stuff ever.
Yeah.
In our real estate business, obviously, we're dealing with a very small percentage of the population that are actually going out and bettering themselves, and listening to podcasts like this one, and creating a better life for themselves and creating a future for themselves. But as fun and wonderful as it is to operate in this business, one of the things that I find very sad to me is that we are only working with a very, very tiny slice, a very small percentage of the population. And I believe that that's largely due to the lack of education, and to parents not taking up, like you are, where they need to instill some of these values and work ethics and understanding of how this game works into their children. So that's why I just feel like this is such an important episode. I mean, this is a big deal, because it affects their whole life, and it really affects the fabric of our entire society. So, yeah. Anyway, John, I know we talked about money, but why do you think, other than money, why do you think owning your own business is better than having a job?
Well, like I said, you make more money.
Well, that's true. Okay. But would you say
There's
that
more to it, right? Like, I've taught you more advantages than just making money. Please tell me that there's more to it than that.
Like if you're your own boss, what's the advantage in that? Right?
Hours. Remember, we talked about this? Setting your own hours?
Well, let me ask it a different way. If you don't have a boss, what does that do for you as far as your own schedule or things like that?
Well, they boss you around with your time.
If you have a boss.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
you're saying
So what if you don't have one?
Yeah, if you don't have a boss, what does that look like?
You can hire your own people and make them work for you.
Ah, okay. That's great.
So let's go with inspire them to work for you versus make them work for you. See the difference? Yeah. So
I'm just curious, when you grow up, John, do you have a desire to have your own business?
Yes.
what would you like to do?
Yeah, what do you want to do?
I want to do what he does and invest in real estate.
Wow, that's cool. Well, the cash flow game and the Monopoly game is really going to help give you a really, really great understanding of that stuff, because that's definitely a lot. Those are both based on real estate investing for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you a question, John. I mean, I know that you've got some good buddies at school, and you're also a pretty big influence on your younger brother. What advice? Because when we put out this episode and we tell them we're interviewing you, who's 9 years old, there's a likelihood that there's going to be other kids out there that jump on and listen to this recording, right? So knowing that, what advice would you give to other kids out there who want to have their own business when they grow up? What would you encourage them to do to move in that direction?
Well, if their dads do that, then make their dad teach them.
Okay, and that's good. And what if there's probably plenty of kids out there who don't have a dad like yours, who maybe they don't understand the real estate game, or they just have a regular job and they don't own their own business. But if a kid your age really had a desire and saw that vision of having their own business, how would you encourage them to sort of cultivate that, to go down and learn more about that?
Like you can play games, and that you can also go to places that your friend invests at.
So that's cool. So do you like going to see the properties that your dad is investing in?
Yes.
Well, why?
Well, you got a good tour with the property manager a month or so ago. And then from there, we went on to our charitable program so that I could teach him how to give back. He served for 3 hours, served food to the community at our where we do our charitable giving for disadvantaged children. And so John that day was very special because John got to see, what it's like to own a property and the problems that come along with it. And it's not always perfect, and how we solve those problems and make the units better and, perform better for not only for us as the investor, but a better place to live for the tenants. And then went on to learn charity. So we want to teach our kids to not only how to, make money, but then invest money wisely, and then how to give money back and give back through your time and efforts as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. So I don't really have any other questions. I mean, John, I just want to say it's really, really great to have you on the show. This has been really, really fun having you along with your dad. I wish I could talk him into having you on every show.
Well, he's got a half day at school today, so we caught him at a good time. And I know he was very excited to do this show. He kept asking me over and over again what time this is going off. So definitely excited to have a podcast.
John, did you have fun doing this, John?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
You might have your own podcast someday?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I can
see. I think what's great, and one of the reasons I want to thank you for coming on, because I think whether you realize it or not, even though at 9 years old, the people that listen to it are going to be highly influenced. So you just created a situation where you have the opportunity here to help a lot of kids your age understand better about how to grow up and how to be a better entrepreneur. But I think you also really helped us to help a lot of parents out there really up their game and do a better job of being parents and instilling proper values into their kids. And so just for that, I think you've done all of us a really great service. So thanks so much for being on the show.
My pleasure.
All right,
awesome. And listeners, thank you very, very much. If you got something out of this, obviously, please give us a 5-star rating on iTunes or, the top rating on, whatever podcast serving device you listen to. And if you want to see the kinds of properties and returns that we make available to our investors, just head on over to our website at highreturnrealestate.com. And for myself and my business partner, Mr. Jack Gibson, I just want to say thank you so much for listening. This has been really, really a fun show. And John, I hope we can have you back again someday, buddy.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.